So
like
remember,
if he's an unemployed piece of shit.
yes,
You
and
wanna
you know
overlook?
why?
Yes.
And you know why?
Huh?
And you know why? They manipulate you. They'll make you think and feel that you are the one that caused this.
The
Because
benefit
they
of the
can
doubt
say
you would
things
give
like,
to an unemployed guy,
Yes.
listen, I
and
promise
the same
there
unemployed
are-
guys you guys don't even look
there,
at.
there are professionals.
Did we say we don't look at unemployed
But
guys?
generally,
No, I'm
people don't
asking.
look at don't look at.
Nkululeko on Cultr.
So when you're fighting with someone, why do you need to put at their dreadlocks?
Mama, Papa. No, but I remember the strength comes from different angles, different things.
The strength
So
is
wherever
on
the
the
strength-
person's hair.
Samson and
Samson.
Delilah.
Yeah. I know. Was that a fair fight, or it was too short for us to know whether there was a fight? Was it a fight or an assault?
It was an assault because by the look of things, Musa didn't really retaliate. So it was
Do
more
you
of
think
an
it did it
assault.
deliberately? Just so it's Musa Khawula after all.
Yeah, he probably did it deliberately.
So when someone attacks
so he
you,
can,
what is deliberate about it?
No, if you're not fighting back.
If you're not
Because you've
fighting
got an
back.
option to fight back and make it a fight.
yeah,
Or don't do anything, and
Yeah.
that is assault. Because there was no self-defense. It was
at
not a
all.
fight.
Yeah.
But he could not have planned that because he didn't know that Moshe was going to do that. Do we know if Moshe is the person who is on that video?
It is Moshe because
On that small clip,
yeah,
you saw that
it
is him.
is Moshe.
I couldn't. I watched that. I was like,
We know
I
Moshe.
don't
Yeah, we
know.
just don't know Musa. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Now
it
you confirm
was-
that it looks
Yes,
like
no,
Moshe.
definitely it was him.
Because I was like, the only person who knows Moshe is Musa Khawula
because
and people
apparently-
around that place.
How the story unfolded is Musa posted where he's going. So Moshe was like, good shot. That's where I'm going to find you. So he went there and that's where the fight broke.
Eyo,
Yeah, that's where it
So the
happened.
danger of posting your movements, your whereabouts, and all of
It's
those
there.
things.
But also, even if he did not post, they could have ran into each other at any event, at any place.
True.
And I mean, Moshe has been saying on the videos where he's saying, "When I'm gonna show you fire."
Why would he do that?
I think
Other than the build up to being insulted,
yeah.
or things of his being exposed, why would he go out of his way to potentially fuck up his career?
Look, as people, we deal with things differently. So I think that's his way of dealing with issues. Because now
By
there has
assaulting.
been, but there's been claims that he's
Violence.
that kind of a person, unale violence, and even the relationship. I mean, there's been claims that previously, when they separated
Phelo has spoken
with
about it.
Phelo, and even now there's been that, that has been said a lot. So I think that's his way of dealing with issues. Because he
So
could have
he's
chosen.
physical.
Yes.
So there's no other way of dealing with things, but he gets
Eh,
ula umnandila.
Look, as I say, as people are different in how we deal with things. So the fact that now there's a pattern that we hear about his behavior, it means that's how he deals with things. Because he could have chosen to address it in many other ways. He could have written something. He could have made a video to address Musa.
Or like all of us, he
The
could have
lawsuit.
done it.
Or he could have done
Like
a
all of us.
lawsuit.
If it's a factual claim about his life, the ownership of a house or being broke, we are, even the three of us are public figures now to an extent where people can report about us. Someone can say that I'm broke, I don't have money, and there's nothing I can do about it. If they have a big platform, 300,000 people see that and stuff like that, but what can you do? Seriously. What do you think is going to happen with him?
Obviously, Musa Khawula has opened a case.
Yes, like at that level, we
at
already
that
know
level,
that. But
yeah.
isn't he in a film somewhere on multi-choice or a series, whatever?
Who?
No.
Moshe.
Moshe.
Moshe is on Gomorrah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yes.
what do you
Yeah.
think is going to happen to that level? Do you think the company has a decision to make?
They do. I think that's what we've been talking about in the previous weeks. When you highlighted that there should be some level of, responsibility and accountability that people take for their actions, but also companies or productions have also that responsibility because these are public figures. Because if a public figure does that, what does it say to the rest of the public? That basically it's okay that you can go and assault a person because you're upset. I mean, you become a role model to a certain extent, and a whole lot of, I can imagine, particularly in the queer community, that look up to Moshe because, he's a celebrity now, so there has to be some level of action that is taken to...
Because the accusation to your community is that it's like there's an immunity with responsibility, and they use Somizi as an example. If I had done it to Nhlanhla, whatever Nhlanhla was saying about me, I would be consequence because I'm a straight man, she's a straight woman, right? Or if I had done it to you, for example, even though you are a gay man and I'm a straight black man, both of us are black men, I would easily be consequenced. But with the gay community, the accusation is always that it's not as quick. I don't know if there's been any lesbians who've been out there in the news for wrongdoing. So the spotlight is largely on gay men, particularly with Somizi. He's brought the spotlight to the community. But I think even with Umushe, if nothing happens, it then amplifies the thing of gay men are not being consequenced. Do you think that's fair to put it on the whole community?
As I said previously, that unfortunately, because certain people from the community are that famous and that known, they're sort of put as the template of the community, which is unfair to the whole community. For me, I think the most important thing, as you say, people need to be consequenced. But the question is, why are these production companies not doing that? Right, we don't know what's the reason behind that, and it would be interesting to hear what's the reason behind that.
Would it disappoint you, Nhlanhla, if nothing happens to him? Like, if you still continue, even though you don't watch Gomorrah, but if you knew that for the next 12 months he will still be on Gomorrah,
can I take you a step back?
Yeah.
Gonna come on. Boiti and
Bougie
went through the same thing, right?
And that was an assault that everyone
knew.
That
saw that witnessed, and there was footage of it. Like, there were no faces missed or anything like that. What were the consequences?
Yeah.
So I guess what you're saying stands to be true. And yes, I will be disappointed because now it means, right, much as it was a straight woman and a gay man, and right now it's both gay men, right, that are at each other. So something must happen, because now it means if nothing happens, the queer community gets away with murder, basically.
I think for me, it also takes me to the gender-based violence that happens within the community, right? It's not, we don't pay attention to it, and it's quite rife. And I think the reason it's we're not paying attention to it to an extent that we actually have to make sure that we address it is that whole thing that because you are two men in a relationship, so it's more of you're men, so deal with it. You sort it out kind of thing. Because I remember I was in that relationship where, my ex basically hit me. And one of my friends said to me, yeah, but why didn't you fight back? Why didn't you?
Yes.
And the thing is, I'm not that kind of a person. I'm not. For me, is if we have differences, let's sit down and talk about them and resolve them. If we fight, what are we resolving with a fight? So I think within the community, we still have that responsibility of addressing GBV, that then the rest of the society can then see that people have to be consequenced.
It's a difficult concept if you put it in under the banner of GBV, because your niggas is two niggas. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's not two different genders.
Yeah. But the thing,
spousal violence from one partner to the other.
It's partner-based violence.
It's spousal-based violence.
Why will it not be gender-based violence? Because naturally in that relationship you're playing different roles.
There's a feminine and a masculine dynamic.
In most instances, in majority of instances, in majority of instances that's the case. So it still needs to be looked at that in that way. Because these are two people that are coming together in a romantic relationship, for that matter. So it still needs to be addressed.
I think the interesting thing with Upoji, just to go back on what you were saying, is that I never saw him publicly after like he was out
but
there.
Remember he was arrested. There was a court case where Boiti wanted $1 million or more.
Yes.
So for me, he has
there
been
is some
and I think
he's
been off radio as well. I'm not sure.
That's what I'm saying. I never really saw. Just to be fair, in that instance, that I never really saw him getting as much gigs as he used to get. And as we are saying, there was a criminal case in there. So maybe our best hope with the Tabaya Musa Khawula Moshe Ndiki is that if he continues to lay the charges, then maybe something will happen to him, and as a result, he won't be able to shoot Gomorrah. But these companies act against straight men. They take us off productions quickly, very quickly, when it's us straight men or straight women. But their mum on Moshe Ndiki, and I'm glad that you also see it the same way as well. What do you think is going to happen then as we wrap up, moving on to the next thing? What do you think? What do we genuinely think is going to happen to Moshe, other than the legal case that's been opened?
He's going to be consequenced.
You 100% sure?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure.
I don't think so. Given how many days now, did we hear anything? Have we seen anything? I think it's going to be the same thing, that something else is going to happen. We're going to focus on it and
it's a PR
forget
game.
about it.
Wait
It's
it
a PR
out.
game, wait it
Possibly.
out, then you forget and it goes. Because what I'm seeing is it depends on how popular you are and how much of a media darling you are. Then
In the queer community.
you get away with it.
Was Bushi not a media darling? Did he not have
power varies.
Back then,
Also,
power varies. Your influence and networks vary. I think we can see with Somizi that his power is different to Buji's power. It depends who you know.
Even with Moshe, if you have to compare them with Buji,
the levels are not
Moshe
the
is
same.
more influential
than Buji was.
Yeah, but maybe just bringing it back to that conflict and confrontation. Everyone is being reported on by Musa Khawula. You've heard your say about him and his style. I was actually speaking to him a few days ago, just to have a conversation with him on camera and have an interview. What is the lesson for all of us then in this? In that, if there's a false claim against you, can't you just go the legal route? Because people are cheering him on. People like Anele Mtoda are cheering him on, and I'm like, well, if Anele, you support that action, why don't you do it when people are reporting on you? Why don't you go and hit other people if you're cheering and condoning that behavior? You don't do it because you know you would lose Miss South Africa as a host. You know you would lose 94.7 as your bread. So you're cheering on the wrong thing, knowing that if you were in that position, you wouldn't do it. If anything false is being claimed against you, you have the right to go and open a case of defamation of character. Even with us as YouTubers, those things happen to us as well. So there's no need for her to condone violence. But I'm just thinking, like, would this lead to other celebrities thinking that that's the right action to take when they are being reported on which they are broke and stuff like that?
Not necessarily. I mean, we can acknowledge that Musa has created a lot of enemies for himself in the manner in which he reports. And I think a lot of people that he has reported on, particularly on false stuff, they are upset with him, they hate him, and probably they're cheering Moshe because that's what they feel that they could have done. But they know if doing it, there are consequences to that. So now somebody has done it. It's more, you've done it on our behalf. So kudos to that. You know, and I think that's the situation.
Yeah.
Okay, no,
Should
I'm
he
done
hire
with
bodyguards?
it. What for?
Probably
No, but you can't have bodyguards when you don't have money. And like, okay, Musa can have bodyguards because he knows, but can he afford it? That's one.
Yeah, that's the
and
question.
secondly, with the reputation that he's built for himself around the industry, I think it's only a matter of time until something worse than what Moshe did is going to happen to him. Because there's people that he's pissed off along the way. There's people that cannot afford going the legal route. But instead, they've got the manpower to actually deal with him. So he's likely to go through worse than he's currently going through right now.
Yeah, because also remember, if I'm attacking you, it's not only you I'm attacking your family, I'm attacking your friends, I'm attacking everybody that cares about you.
What do you mean when you say attack? Like, explain that.
So if
I write a story
if
about
I
you.
write a story about you, particularly that is false and that is obviously going to compromise you in your career and in your family, not only you is going to be upset, your family, your friends, everybody that cares about you. And who knows that even your friend or your family member can do something without your knowledge. So I think that's very risky. How he's doing things is very risky.
Yeah.
So
I think
are we saying that he's calling this upon himself?
I
Are
would
we
be
saying that?
Amina,
When
my
you
stance would
create-
be on the celebrities. Like,
Yeah.
something happened in 98, 99 with Mackendas and the stalker and the fan.
Damn. Yeah.
And he shot the stalker and he panicked and he shot himself because he realized upon shooting the stalker, if that happened, it's written in many books and articles. I'm remembering the story differently. I'm sorry if I remember it differently. But what happened was there was a stalker and there was a nuisance. And Mackendas, a big Kwaito star in 98, 99, shoots this person and then he panics and he shoots himself. So if any celebrity wants to consequence Musa Khawula, just be mindful of the consequences on you. You might lose your bread, you might get arrested, you might not get any TV show in future. So I think that's like one thing that they need to be mindful of. And as much as we're trying to, of course, bring in the balance, look, man, you're reporting and stuff like that. That's what I was going to say to him as I'm arranging this interview with him, and we were talking on the phone. But if you're a celebrity, you have a lot more to lose than just allow the article to be written. People forget about it within a day. If it's false, you can do something else. They have the money. Moshe Ndiki has told me in an interview that he makes 5, 10, 15, 20, up to 50,000 per call, depending on who's calling him in that moment. So within a few hours, he said it with his mouth, within a few hours, he could make 5, 10, 20,000. So he can afford a lawyer to write. It takes I think it's 2,000 rands just to write something to Musa Khawula, the letter, and then you take it a step further. And maybe you could even win a judgment, a monetary judgment from the courts. It would have cost you money, but eventually you will recover your money. Maybe that's the logical way of doing it. I know it's frustrating because Musa continues to write his stories because that's his brand. But as a celebrity, you have a whole lot more to lose than to go and assault someone and not be on Generations and not be hosting events, summer awards and shit like that. Who knows if the summers are this week, this weekend. Who knows if he was on the consideration to present an award there and get paid 20,000 rands. And now because of this, they had to take him out of that. And we know Uguti is usually on the awards. I think on Miss SA, he played a role as well.
He was doing the red carpet.
There you go. He was doing the red carpet on Miss SA. So that's maybe 20, 30, 40, 50,000, whatever he negotiated for himself. So you lose bread just to smack someone on the face. I think it's not even worth it. I think, in my opinion.
Must take notes from Shimza.
Yeah, and Bonang was also.
Shout out to Nota.
There are many other ways.
200,000.
Must just take notes. And moving right along, Moneoa has gone through what, most women are likely to go through. There's a rumor that Faith Nketsi is also going through the same thing, but we'll come back to that.
But first, you were saying most women need to
Because
They
were.
Nina.
What do you mean? We work so hard.
Women work hard.
I need to change my circle of women. Nina, Gemali.
Hey, women work hard.
I think it's a unique story. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Go on
So,
with the
but
story.
she did. So she highlighted like a whole lot of things that we didn't know. She gave life to a whole different meaning of scammer, right? So she was
Tinder swindler.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came into my mind. But now, funny enough, the same guy that swindled her is married to the. Yeah, this is but now that's what she says. It's not alleged. So like we've got this on record.
If you are rehashing it,
got this on record.
If you are rehashing it, it means you believe her and you are relaying that message. She is alleging it.
But we are talking about her side of the story. That's why I'm saying that's what she said.
That it allegedly happened.
What happened was I was trying to say that. Why? But like she's got evidence. No. She proved she's got evidence.
Yeah.
Like she had like paper trail. That's why we believe her, because there was paper trail.
Okay.
It's unlike her saying like, nah, this has happened to me, and then we can't see any of that. But there was paper trail, so that's why we believe her. Like I was just trying to say that the same guy that swindled her is actually somebody's husband. He's married to the MEC of Gauteng and Infrastructure Development. Tazni Montara, yeah. So that's the husband. But anyway, so she says that this guy uzengothando olungaga, and there were red flags for me. There's always a red flag in the beginning of a relationship, and the fact that I cannot go to your place with me chilling with guys, right? Now what I know about gents is that if they're single, not married, this is just being single, whether they're in a relationship or not, but when they're single, they'll always take you to their place, because the inconvenience of sleeping at a woman's place is something else.
Too much.
You know what I'm saying? So now for the fact that this guy was and you're okay with it, you're not pressing anything, you're not fighting about the whole thing, and you're allowing him to do all these things, you are signed to a record label, and you allow this person to move you from everything that you've known like most of your career, and you move to the other side. I'm not saying that what happened to her cannot happen to me or to the next person, but it's the manner of which we approach things, we accept things in our lives. Because I don't think she was in a place where she needed anything, because when you've got a roof over your head and if you've got bread that keeps you going, surely there's more that you can work on to to that yourself.
Yeah, I think
But
there's
now,
no bigger red flag than the allegations of physical abuse as well. I mean, she mentions the story of being assaulted for something trivial,
Yeah.
like your breakfast, but there's food there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she was alleging that that had happened as well. I think that if we're looking for red flags, there's no bigger red flag than someone punching you in the face. And now you're qhubeka futhi. I think the other context that we need to emphasize with the story is that there is a potential that a young woman sees a man with money, and that's what she said from the beginning of the video.
She did say.
That this is a property tycoon, hotel accommodation tycoon. I think that maybe some of the things, and I've spoken to her team as well, we're going to have an interview with her, and maybe I'll put the questions to her. Maybe some of the things were that you're going to look past the red flags because you know that you are going to have a multi-millionaire next to you. You know, there's no bigger red flag than someone punching you in the face. There's no bigger red flag than someone driving your car and it not returning. And you still seeing past that. You know, I don't know what's your take, Tholo, on this. I think a lot of people know the gist of that story, so there's no point in rehashing all of it. But what was your takeaway from it? As Nhlanhla mentions red flags as well. I think that's very, very important.
You know, the question I always ask is for many women that have been in such relationships, right? What usually from a psychological background, it's usually somebody that is in need of something, and this person is giving them that something. And you'd find in certain instances it's somebody that did not have their father present. So this man sort of brings that figure in their space. And Nhlanhla mentioned that she was okay financially, so she could actually take care of herself.
Who has
but
friends in industry.
Perhaps she lacked affection. She lacked love. You know, and the unfortunate part of it is when you, at the beginning of a relationship, you're likely to overlook a lot of things, right? Because you're sort of clouded by the idea of this beautiful relationship. So basically, you are in the honeymoon stage. So everything is perfect, and it's easy to overlook certain things that are important. It's only much deep, you know, in a relationship, much later in hindsight, you're like, but that was a red flag. That was a red flag. For women and sometimes even men that have gone through such a relationship, they sort of have learned a lesson. So it's quicker for them that when the red flags comes, it's like, oh, okay, what is this? Let me pay attention. Let me do it. You know, but also it's from a perspective of the kind of person that you are. If you're a good person, you always give other people a chance. Like you reason on their behalf. Maybe I upset him.
Excuses,
maybe he was not prepared. Maybe this.
Would you find the same excuses if the man is poor, like he is an unemployed piece of shit?
You're likely to do that because also
like
remember,
if he's an unemployed piece of shit.
Yes, and you know why? And you know why? And you know why? Abusive people can psychologically make you feel that you are they manipulate you. They'll make you think and feel that you are the one that caused this.
The benefit
because
of
they
the
can
doubt
say
you will
things
give
like,
to an unemployed guy.
Listen, I promise,
and the same unemployed guys you guys don't even look at.
There are professionals.
Did we say we don't look at unemployed
but
guys?
generally
No, I'm
people
asking.
don't look at unemployed guys.
Let me answer your question. There are professionals, right? And we talk people that are in management, in executive level, that are in relationships with people that are not working, that are abusive. I have lived, as my neighbor was a professional nurse. She'll be beaten up in the morning going to work. And she'll leave the house wearing a
And the context is that they picked each other up. The one was already a professional and the other one was already a bum. Like he's a piece of shit. He doesn't earn anything.
So he's a bum because he's not earning anything.
No, there are bums. There are niggas who are bums in this world. Like he's a piece of shit. He's not. The reason why you tolerate, you are seeing the potential of you being a hotel industry tycoon, whatever that industry is, hospitality industry tycoon. You know, the reason why you overlook shit like that is because you know that there will be a return on investment. A bum, a motherfucker that leeches money from you, is not someone you will give a chance. It's not someone who, when he smacks you give him a benefit of the doubt. You won't even speak to him.
In Moneoa's case, yes, that could have been the case. But there are people, I promise you, professionals that are dating people that are not working, but they stay in that abusive relationship for years. Finally, at some point, they open their eyes like, but I'm not really gaining anything from this guy. He's beating me up. He's swearing at me. I don't have self-confidence anymore. I'm losing myself. And usually, the family will try to get into open your eyes. The friends will try to. It
colleagues,
happens.
yeah.
It happens.
It's interesting
because that
we
person
know-
will manipulate you
Yeah.
to say things like, you know, I love you, and you do things that upset me. You know, I don't want to do this, but you
what
keep
we already
doing this,
know
you know.
about our mating relations as men and women is that the bums are in the minority of gaining a chance to even have a relationship with successful women.
No, it depends.
No. Statistically speaking,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
statistically speaking,
Anecdotally,
but-
you could know people, ne?
Yeah.
But generally, by and large, statistically speaking, maybe 5% of men are bums, and they have no chance of getting a woman as a result of where they are in life. Like they're not articulate, they don't have style, the way that they dress, they're not educated, and most of them maybe are unmotivated. Like they don't want to do shit. Women don't tend to look at those men and see potential partners in them. The context could be that you met at university, he was working and he loses his job, or she was working and she loses her job. That's how you find yourself most of the time in that dynamic, that already there was something you could see as a potential there. That's why people are street kids, like strollers on the street, like by homeless. And those people have no chance, almost 0% chance of them being in a relationship with successful people. I think that money is very, very important in how people overlook certain things, because you know that there is no benefit to this person being around me. But when you see the potential, oh, this guy is running for president, but it beats the shit out of me, but he's running for president, I have an opportunity to be the first lady of the country, you might have tolerance for that a little bit more. You know, I'm trying to agitate for a different angle here, because we know like Moneoa is a victim in her allegations.
Yes.
And that's why I want to talk to her directly and have the interview, and then we can ventilate some of these things, you know, because there are people who observe those videos that were released, and it's like, I'm fair to like so many different red flags, as you say, but like there's absolutely no point where you're like, but my BMW, I need to go.
Yo.
My BMW,
Yo.
and you're
Yo.
literally paying.
Mine, exactly.
And you're paying.
Yes.
You're paying those, you know.
Hey,
Do you know any song by Moneoa, a title of any song by Moneoa?
Yes.
Chim Soro, I think.
Chim
Was it-
Sorong,
oh, Ikanto.
I say I love
uh,
more than you or something like that.
Yeah,
I love more than you.
More than you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uchim
that's
Sorong
the one.
Ngabani Malehloka Hlalela.
Yeah.
Malay.
Malay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
it was Malay.
There's a song called Isipanga
Oh, yes.
by Moneoa. That song is prophetic,
Hey,
because it says you are making me a fool. I thought you loved me.
but
wow.
also you know some people, once you are dignitized or dignified, or how do they put it?
Dignified.
Yeah, you like, it closes your eyes, closes your mind, closes your ears, like you just there.
Oh yeah, but
Like,
that guy is pretty. But that guy is pretty. I didn't see the
We are-
picture.
yeah,
he's
he's
okay,
handsome. He's handsome.
Yeah,
He's
well,
okay.
it's okay.
No, look,
You're not the first person to say he's handsome. Someone was saying that guy is
he
gorgeous.
is. He is. Like you look at him, you're like, okay, you know.
Now I'm not
I don't know. I just think he's okay. I just
no
think he's
more,
okay.
that's
No, maybe not my cup of coffee. That's why he's okay in my eyes. Number preference.
No, you need to
So
get your
please.
glasses.
Oh, no more.
Awumona lo.
No more.
No way. It's not my cup of coffee at all.
Yeah.
No, but look, her being a victim and like you saying something, that prophetic song or something else. I didn't see that
I
one
love
coming.
Moneoa's music.
Or
Shout out to
maybe
you.
maybe that's during that time
living.
where she's like,
No, that's
like,
now Ispangle. I think is like maybe
Way
7 or
before.
8 years old.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's
Yeah,
quite
then
so I
old.
it
think
was
this relationship
prophetic.
is recent.
Yeah,
Then it was
it's
prophetic.
like 5 years ago, recent,
Okay,
and then
okay.
Ispanga
Yeah.
was like maybe 3 or 4 years prior.
Yeah.
But with that said, like how she's been the victim is something that can happen to anybody.
It
Yeah,
can.
absolutely.
Let's just not be judgmental
Sure.
or anything like that, because swindlers are everywhere. Look, with corporates, with us as business people trying to get one business from one person to
Sure.
another, they will come in those sweet tongues, show you documentation and prove to you that this can be done. So you don't really blame her. It's just that, like, at some point when we have conversations, the things that we say should stick in our minds, because if they do stick in our minds, there'll be things that happen in a relationship where you're like, but Nkululeko, ngathi uke wakhuluma ngento eso, you know.
Yeah.
So you're likely to draw back a bit and then watch things from an arm's length, be able to make a decision quickly, because it took her a while. Ukushayile uthatha imoto, you don't know where he stays,
Change
but
your
you
record
stay,
label.
you know what I'm saying, and you're still there What more do you want to see? I mean, I think we can gratefully say that we are happy that she came out alive from that relationship. It could have been worse.
What could that guy say in his defense if he were to be compelled? Given that we somewhat know his character now from Moneoa, what do you think his angle could be if he were to be compelled to say anything? I think he's winning in life now.
Proper.
Maybe it looks like he's making money now. And there was actually a report as well. I started reading about the MEC, who was the wife, and I think there were. It's very crazy how those things happen because as I was reading the background of the MEC, who was the wife, I think she's openly HIV as well.
Yes, she is.
And it's like, this nigga probably must have looked at these influential people and saw which one can be a potential victim if we are to believe that he's that type of a guy, And there was also a report putting pressure on her, which is that you are next to this person who has done this. I was reading some of the articles as well. But what do you think would be his angle if he were to make any statement? Would he say, I can't where is the proof? Or is the proof compelling enough to say he shouldn't say anything in the first place because it's too bad for him?
He will say something, and I'll tell you why. Because he's paid 170 whatever according to her, right? So there's only a couple of thousands that are missing from the agreements that they made.
Okay.
His defense could be like, I'm on the process of paying it, I just needed time, but I just did not communicate. I think he'll find a way to sway things.
Though. If he makes a statement Uguti acknowledging Uguti is paid and is going to continue to pay, somewhat could be seen as admission that is an abuser, as it's being alleged. He
won't be an abuser, but he'll be that person that admits that I took your stuff because I wanted to keep it safe for you. However, financially I could not sustain that money to pay to pay storage every single month, and unfortunately maybe I changed my number or I could have missed their calls angle. And he'll give a logical angle to the reasons why he could not keep those goods in the storage and how the goods went and how he at least felt guilty and he felt that I will reimburse for my mistake because I want to do things right. And as far as the allegations of him being an abuser or anything like that concerned, there's pictures that she also posted as well. So it could be like
self-inflicted.
No, but he could say that I don't know what that is. No, but it could still be her word against his. How do we prove that it was his fingerprint?
That's what I'm saying.
On
like
the
his
face?
Angle would be like that's self-inflicted wounds. Like she did it to herself.
Because she's trying to tarnish my image because I left her and I married somebody else. So she's just a bitter woman that's trying to come after me and my new family. That's what he would say.
Life is beautiful. You see, that's a logical, solid thing.
I sound like a piano person.
Very well. Very well.
But that's likely what he will say, And there's an angle that he could use to say, I do apologize for causing harm at that time, for not being there when I should have. But life was just not working out for me either. So there's a lot of ways that he could spin this whole thing. I'm not sure if he needs my services, but I'm just saying.
Well, you're a reputation manager. He can do well with the services.
So that's the response that we're likely to get from him. Like I'm sure he could pull one off and he'll be believed. He'll be believed. And then what would that make Moneoa?
Believe all victims.
Because right now, unfortunately, we don't have like solid contacts in the music industry where we could ask why those people are not booking her. Maybe we could get a different angle from them to understand the story better as to why she's not being booked. Maybe we can ask Nota. He knows everything.
The authority. N to the O to the T. I think maybe I love music, and I love her music too. And I was heartbroken when I was listening to the part of the record label. And I know like record labels have a very exploitative contract with every musician, unless you become big enough to renegotiate and buy your own masters. That's how the industry is structured. I think that maybe not getting gigs is something that had to do with the label, not as it relates to them blacklisting her, but it's like she was getting gigs because the record label had a footprint in the industry. They were helping her with it, and that's what a record label would do if they do their job. They make sure that they speak to promoters on your behalf. They push your music on radio. But I think the album that she recorded under him, as she alleges, is an album that producers were not being paid. She doesn't have access to her music. She says she has only access to one song, Zipinkomo. I was heartbroken because I love her music, really, really love her music, and I think I can say that I empathize, and maybe I somewhat know how difficult it is not to own your art. You know, if I was being told that these videos that we're shooting here, someone else has access to them and we can't share them to the public, it would break my heart, and I'm sure she's heartbroken by that. But I was amazed as well. That's why you need the interview with the person speaking. It's like, how do you get to the point where this person doesn't know anything about the music industry? You take your career from there. As exploitative as these percentages with record labels are, and they always are, but you know at least you can get gigs, you can record your music, and you will know your songs, you can perform your songs. You go to someone who doesn't have the experience.
Agreement was I'm going to open something for you.
Yeah.
So her leaving her record label was an independent way of her doing her own things. But he will help her with, like, you know, with pulling the strings and all those things. But she was going to be assisted by him to start her own record label.
Yeah.
That was the agreement. And that's why she left the record label. She didn't leave it to be solidly with his record label. It was her own that was being started, but because he's the one with the financial muscle in the process,
it would have always been pretty much him. Like, he's the money behind the new label. So you put your hands on you put your career on the hands of someone who knows nothing,
but
nothing about the
contextually she knew more about the industry. Hence he said, let us do this thing. But obviously because the money comes from, it's like the funder of this particular business.
It was more like she's getting autonomy on her craft, so she'll basically direct how things would happen and all of that. And I think also like you say, in terms of the bookings, obviously the recording label will push your stuff because they also have contracts and contacts and all of that, but you have to do it independently. It's a different story because now you sort of have to start from scratch,
to make those phone calls,
establish relationships and get there, and that takes time, you know, especially you're coming from this stable and now you're on your own, so it's more of we're still working with those people, should we work with you or not? It becomes that kind of a tricky situation to manage.
Wish her all the best. I think from my end I would really like to talk to her. I was speaking to her like a day after, the morning after she dropped those videos, and she responded, and I was like happy. So in the next coming weeks, hopefully this doesn't dampen. If she sees clips of this and it's like we are attacking her, it doesn't.
But she'll come out and clarify things.
But clips are clips, bro. Like someone can take the harsh part, like when we're talking about the red flags, someone can take that part and these motherfuckers are criticizing you.
I think it would be nice if she has that conversation with you, because it's always ideal to have a person
journalist
telling their story, because then we can hear more and in depth, because now you're going to have more time to engage her on that.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to chatting to her. But man, that was a very, very, very shocking story. And then what happened to the maternity ward?
Where?
No, it wasn't a maternity ward.
It was a surgical ward.
Oh, sorry.
It was a surgical ward in Limpopo.
What is the context? I didn't watch that video because
the video.
I saw it, no?
Yeah.
But I don't like xenophobic things. I saw the titling. I don't watch xenophobic things. Like, they make me cringe when people are being attacked and whatever. Other people feel differently, like they enjoy that shit. But I was like, nah, I'm not going to watch this. But then I kept on reading about it. What was the context? What happened? Who is the person who's doing the abusing, if there was any abuse?
There was no abuse done, really. The MEC of Health in Limpopo was doing the rounds like MEC would in hospitals. And then the thing is, what I'm intrigued of, right, is how the cameras were there and she spoke what she said, and then suddenly, like, it was trending, it was making news. That still intrigues me, because normally in hospitals and wards, ahuna, like, you know, all of those cameras. I'm not sure if this was done deliberately, but the context was
it not to film perhaps her doing the rounds?
I think usually when politicians do this work, it becomes a PR exercise as well. So probably that's why the cameras were there.
Maybe.
And when something like that happens, obviously the media wants to capture, you know, certain things.
And then politicians are going to also try and make a PR stunt about it. But what she was saying to the Zimbabwean patient who was there, who was in the surgical ward, was that I don't have budgets for you. In Limpopo, I've only got allocated budgets to certain patients that are able to be treated here, that are from here. when you are here and you are not documented, you are becoming a problem, and a problem that's going to hinder on the health of somebody that's going to need help tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I may not be able to help that person tomorrow because I took the resources, helped you. And I don't even know where you're going. I don't know where you're coming from because you are undocumented. But right now, I need to stretch from what I do not have to be able to assist you. However, there's a child from Limpopo that will come tomorrow and need help, but I'll not be able to help that child that may tomorrow help his family live a better life because the resources would have been taken. So look,
that person needs help. That patient needs help in that moment.
That person needs help in that moment.
Hence, they were admitted to get help.
Yes.
Yeah, like,
but
so
now
I'm
what
trying
she
to
extended on the
I
wording.
get the conceptual aspect of it. Ukuthi, you guys are stressing the system. At that level of individual engagement, what does she think is going to happen? That person who needs assistance is going to get up and go back to Zimbabwe immediately?
No, what she
word
said,
of mouth.
what she said was she should go through with the procedure, but she needs to pay for the services.
Okay,
that's what she said.
I'm trying to understand at that individual level.
She needs to be charged
and
for it.
if they don't get charged, what is that?
She said she should not leave the hospital before she pays.
Is that a system that is in place already, or she's deciding in this moment that you are going to pay?
No, it's a system that is in place that if foreigners, foreign nationals comes into the country, they have to pay because particularly that are not documented. Because with us, it's different. People like pensioners, people like people that are not working, they don't pay or they pay a portion of what needs to be paid and others don't pay at all. And she was saying based on that, then this one will need to pay. Right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the system already and we know that that's factual, then because I want to understand at this level of individual, what do you want this person to do if they need an operation, whatever.
But also, what it does, word of mouth is still powerful. There's a gap, kunombobo, like ovulekile, right? A lot when it comes to resources in South Africa. That illegal foreign nationals are like now utilizing those channels. So if word of mouth goes back to say, I tried this and I did not get assisted, then they can see things are not as easy as they used to be. So I'm not saying that's what she was trying to do, but that's what it could naturally prevent. Should she go back and tell whoever with the channels that came in to say, you know what, I tried to go and give birth, I tried to go and do this on the other end, but things are not the same because the MEC basis, you know how we exaggerate stories. Once you tell a person the next story, it's not as how it happened. So what it does to the person psychologically is to spread the word to say, hey guys,
I think
that
video,
hole
but
that
that's
was
not how
there.
it's treated because now the interpretation is she's been xenophobic because this person is a foreign national. And that wasn't really the issue because with our constitution is that everybody has to have access to healthcare. Therefore, when you get to the hospital, they will not ask where you're coming from and all of that. They just have to take your information and help you because they can't return you. Because if they return you and you die or something happens to you, they will have to account for that. You know. And she was saying, particularly people that are not documented, that is a problem because, and it makes sense. Because
is it not something you address with the manager of the hospital?
Yes, as an
at a
MEC
systematic level, no?
Yes.
And not even of that only hospital. You just clamp down on make sure that everyone who's using these services is a South African pensioner and unemployed, doesn't pay or pay a portion, and then anyone who's employed, they get charged for it, right? Is it just not a matter of them implementing what's already there? 'Cause that's why I'm probing you when you're saying that that's the rule. Like it's applicable normally. It's not something she decided in that moment. You know, it's not a price system that she decided in that moment. It's already there. So don't you just then call as a leader? Call for the managers of all these public hospitals and institutions for them to implement what's already there, you know.
Ideally, that should have been the case. But if you're doing rounds, right? And I mean, we always take from what the MEC, what the what the premiers, the ministers, or whoever that's there at that time, will always coach you based on what you said. So because she was there, she needed to say something, or she was doing those rounds and trying to talk to people for whatever reason that she had to talk to, then that's how the message came out.
How was the tone of the message?
She wasn't rude, but people perceived that she was being rude. Look, man, I looked at that and I felt like it was a conversation, right?
There are things I wouldn't say to people
not
who
have
are on the
happened
verge of
at
death.
that level.
There are things I wouldn't say to people who are on the verge of death because I have empathy and I have love. I have love for human beings. There are things I wouldn't say to people who are on the verge of death. I don't know what was the tone.
I think for me, it was. it was necessary for her to address it, but probably not in that manner, not in front of cameras, because also there's dignity that you need to give to people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wherever they come from.
and the manner of saying in front of everyone, for that matter, you cannot live without paying and all of that. I think she could have perhaps noted it and then addressed it with the hospital.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel that it needed to be raised in the public as well. And my reason for this is because the health sector system, in fact, it's overburdened by such issues.
Yeah.
And Minister Motsoaledi has been trying to address it. Yeah. And he was taken as a bad person in a sense that he's xenophobic. But what he's trying to do is let's regulate the ingoing and outgoing of foreign nationals, because then it gives government an opportunity to know the numbers they budget for, they plan for. But now when you have more than what you have planned for, who then suffers? The same people that you're supposed to be taking care of. Because we are the same person, or rather people that are going to go to them and say, but you're not managing the health system well, we're not getting the services that you're getting. But we're not, because it's overburdened, because now they can't plan thoroughly because they don't have the right numbers.
And we're not addressing that issue.
I think we're talking about the hospital, and we're also talking about Motsoaledi Waigwa Home Affairs, or he was Minister of
He's
Health
now
at the
Home
time.
Affairs,
He's now Home Affairs.
He's a former health minister.
I think a specific department of cabinet can complain about the adverse impacts of illegal immigration, but it could be that, and we can say this about hospitals and health, that thing affects them, but that's not the way it's addressed at a level of system. Like, where are they entering and who is in control of the border? I think that's where maybe
Minister Motsoaledi, I think it's early this year or late last year, he has put in a system of now they were tightening the control at the borders to try to minimize that.
Yeah,
right?
They're not an NPO.
They're not.
They have the budget to address that at that level of how do people enter.
And he's been actively trying to do that. And I think from the minister's side, it came also from a point of frustration, right? No, because how she explains it makes sense that we're trying to make sure that we get a health system that is working for everybody that is documented in the country and the citizens. But now we're having these pockets of undocumented people that are coming that we are unable to plan for. So now it now disbalances things. Is there such an English word, disbalance? Imbalance things. It creates an imbalance on how the system should work. Yeah. And I think that's why I have a gripe with EFF when they say she must be removed from a position. She was being active in her work. She was doing her work actively so. And I'm proud of her doing her work in that way, because if she doesn't do the rounds, she would not have been aware of such things. Yes, accuse her of how she raised it, but don't remove her for doing what she's supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
So is it not to address it at a level of hospital and the manager of the hospital, that you see, like, there are solutions to these things. I get what you're saying, because we are talking about it now. It creates some sort of awareness. The whole country is talking about that visual clip, right? But speak to the managers, charge people. Don't allow them in, and if that's the rule, right? If it's free for all, then it's free for all. But if the rule is that everyone who's not an unemployed or pensioner pays, including illegal immigrants, whether they work or not, if that's the policy, I can go to question about that, obviously. But if that's the current policy, then it's a matter of implementing.
But you see, it gets tricky where here's a patient comes in. They need medical assistance immediately. You open a file for them, right? And the first thing is, remember at casualty there's a triage. So basically to check who needs assistance first, who can wait, and all of that. So let's say this person comes and they're on red. So on red, it means they need to be attended immediately, right? You can't return them. You have to assist them. Then you can talk about issues of payment. And then they tell you at that point that I don't have money to pay, right? And you actually then realize that they also don't have documentation, because now your first thing is to save a life. That's what the Constitution is saying.
Yeah.
Everybody has access to the system. Yeah. So you see, it becomes tricky where, and unless then it becomes very clear and a blanket approach that if a person comes, they don't have documentation, they need to be detained despite the condition they're in.
Even though that's inhumane in a country that I'm running, that would not happen. But if that's the current situation, if that's what we are saying, and if the whole country agrees that they want to do it in an inhumane way, where they want to charge people based on where they come from, for something that is usually given for free, then that's what people want. That's a country that they are voting for. That's fine. But in a country that I was running, that everyone would just have a free-for-all, I would just control where they enter. If you need an army there, 24/7, there are a lot of unemployed kids. We have unemployed statistics there. If you need 1 million people manning those fences, you just do that. Of course, I'm sure there are shortfalls in what I'm saying. Where is the budget, blah, 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 blah. But if you need to resolve it at that level, then you do it there. If you need to deport people, you go on another campaign where you just look at people, you check their documentation, you deport them back. Someone was also saying that you just need to send a bill to Emerson Mnangagwa every year.
So he can also control.
That's what she was saying.
It makes sense.
You actually are on his budget and not on my budget. Because now on my budget, I cannot accommodate you. But Mnangagwa has your budget and he's not doing anything about it. So that's what she was saying.
But also I think that our government takes time to address issues. Because what Minister Aaron Motsoaledi is doing now should have done a long time ago. Right? So now it's been viewed as we are not being patriotic to our fellow, African brothers and sisters, because they are used to, right? So now we're trying to draw the line and create the boundaries. They get uncomfortable because they've been used to in and out freely.
Yes. They roam freely in this country.
Could have been
I'm going to
done
step out.
earlier.
Is there anything anymore that you want to discuss? I'm going to step out so that the person we need to interview now, you guys can interview them.
What else was there? Yeah. But I wanted to ask you, Peter Musimani came out.
What did they say?
And then
I'm trying to run away from
I know, but I just want that different angle.
She wants me to be quiet.
We're supposed to talk to them. And that's why we're vacating space.
Boss.
Boss. No.
What happened with Peter?
No. His utterances in the media to say the reason why he's not getting sponsors for his school's project is because a wealthy family was making calls to say nobody must touch the Musimani brand. The Peter Musimani brand. Have you caught wind on that?
What is that? I saw clips of him being asked questions about certain things, but I didn't get to that part. I saw him being asked about Pesitao, saw him being asked about Sundowns, and he didn't want to talk about that. But that's an insinuation then. And the wealthy family could be construed to be the Mutsepes and blah, 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 blah. I would completely understand it if he's struggling for funding, even though he's like one of the best coaches in Africa ever. Us black brands, man, we have a serious problem with getting funding for everything that we do. You guys would know this as well. You've run brands. It's very difficult to find funding for one reason or the other. Maybe we don't have the institutional history and understanding, and their ties. Like the reason why Itiski makes money, millions per year, is because there are white people that I work with that are part of the ownership structure, and it makes it way easier. They have those conversations. They know who to call. And sometimes these are relationships. You can get a deal for $1 million for 3 months. And I know I could not have been able to do it if I was running the shit alone. It's difficult. It's difficult to be a black person in these things. And
then Gail King Misizulu was...
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
Let me just try and talk to these guys.
Okay, so what I caught on was the fact that he's not yet... King coronation has not yet taken place. Just because he's in the crawl, it does not mean he's been coronated as the king. That's what I
But what was the celebration about? Because my understanding was that was their coronation. I mean, even in his speech.
Not that he's...
Oh,
yes, that's what they're saying. So, that's what I read. So I want to understand, what did you get from it?
What I got was actually that he's actually taking the seat, because even in his speech he was talking about how now in his leadership there's going to be peace, that people basically reassuring people that things are going to change for the better, because my intention is to make sure that there's peace and that we get to be okay. And also talking from a religious perspective, that he believes in God and the guidance of God and all of that, and I think that's why I got to understand it from that perspective, that now he's basically taking over as the king, because also remember the Pietermaritzburg High Court dismissed the agent application for this to not take place,
Yes.
and that's why they continued.
Because that was dismissed. Do you think is the rightful heir to be the king right now?
Sure, that is a difficult question to answer, and I would say that because I believe that Zulu people can say that better, and I'm saying this out of respect, really, because we know our kings from Basotho. I can tell you, the tree, where it comes from, who it came, and all of that, because I understand that like deeply. But from the Zulu clan, I don't know much. That's why I would not really say much, but and basically out of respect, because
you're not clued up as far as that is concerned.
Yes. Okay. But for me, what's important is they've got a king that is being there to make sure that everything about the Zulu clan and their culture is preserved and it's taken forward the way it needs to, because I think that is the most important thing, that we preserve our culture and make sure that we also practice it the way it needs to be practiced, going forward, and also teaching the younger generation that comes, because if we don't do that, then we're basically going to lose it along the way, and we're going to lose our identity. So I think that's what I appreciate the most.
Okay. All right, I guess that's that then.
And your view?
My view, looking at, it's been a year, right, of this back and forth of him trying to be the next king, or who rather should be the next king. And because it's siblings, look, the one thing that I fail to understand all the time is that we are all raised in a particular way. We are all raised in a systematic way that has been there before us, right? And it was there before them. So it's not as if like they were the first ones to go through it, hence the courts needed to decide. It's never been a thing where it's decided in the courts. It's been something that has a system, like for us to have a king, and if we are reaching a deadlock, this is how we resolve things. So instead of us going back to a template that was given to us, why are we including the courts now? And for the fact that the South African president had to certify him to be the rightful heir that takes the kingdom, I look at that and I'm like, okay, aren't we not now diluting what culture is? Why are we not sticking to what culture has dictated for us before? Because that is how things are. It does not have to include the president of where we are, because how we do things as the nation, or as the Usuthu nation, this is how things are being done. Why are we including the courts? Because they know the law, right? Maybe call in the law to facilitate the process, in a sense that renali rural and cultural affairs that should have proceeded over this, because not really going through the civil case way of doing things, because there's that rural way of doing things. Let the people that know the rules, let the people that know what has been done before go through the process, and then tell people that based on history, then they can take you as far back as 1839. They'll take you far back as 1904, and they'll come up with that history. Because I don't think it's a unique situation, because there's nothing new that happens under the sun. So it was something that they should have just followed. But we are where we are. We needed the courts because now, like, it became a thing. Like, we are watching over this.
And the courts don't know how things should be, because what they do is just to listen to what is it that is presented before the courts, then make judgment based on what has been presented and what is it that is more compelling for them to make a decision. My question is also here, their father should have had a council. Shouldn't the council be the one that then advises to say this one should be the one that takes over? And if that's the case, what happened to the council? Why is the council not being listened to?
So it's just that. But I guess we will see how things
unfolds.
go, and all the best to him, man. All the best to him taking over the reign as things have unfolded the way that they've unfolded. And and that's how we wrap it up as far as that is concerned, because now, as you guys can see, we are in the background of Bike, and we are now joined in by
Bezel Costa.
Basil
Costa.
Costa,
Yeah.
who is. There we go. There we go. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So, Bike is a company that was established in 1958 in China, and since then they have been developing vehicles mainly for the military. So the background is actually vehicles for the military, army vehicles and 4x4. That's why we're quite strong on the 4x4. And today we are on the FOM because Bike did open in South Africa, Bike South Africa, in partnership with IDC, where we share 65% belongs to Bike China and 35% IDC. So we're quite proud of that. We do have an assembly plant in Port Elizabeth, and we start building vehicles on SKD from last year around June, assembling the vehicles here in South Africa, which is quite nice, and creating jobs. Yeah, that's it. So today we are on the FOM to share with everybody to test drive our vehicles, the 4x4. That's why we are here at the 4x4 village.
Yeah.
So you guys more than welcome to come, enjoy, have fun, drive our vehicles and see how nice and comfortable it is.
Now we've had the experience earlier. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the models that you have?
Okay, so we do have two derivatives in terms of engine wise. So we got the diesel, turbo diesel, 2 liter with 110 kilowatts, and we got the petrol with 160 kilowatts. The petrol comes on an automatic gearbox, and the diesel is a 6-speed manual.
And let's talk about the pricing, because people are always interested. I mean, like that's the bottom line, where we need to know how much, and in terms of warranties, in terms of like, you know, how can we service the cars and all of those things. But we'll start first with the pricing, and yeah, let's just start.
Which is
how
one
much?
that touch your pocket.
Yeah.
Because we need to know how much we're parting with.
Yeah, so our vehicle starts at around 550. We did have a price increase now very recently, and the top of the range will be at 649,500, so 650, top of the range. We offer 5-year warranty or 120,000 kilometer, which is quite good.
5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo,
That's how
5-year
confident
warranty.
we are on the product.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the design of the models, as you say that you know, your background is basically to develop for military, but we've found such luxury to today. It was so comfortable. We went for a drive and it was, you know, steepy and all of that, but it was so comfortable. Can you tell us about, you know, the idea behind how you're designing them?
Okay, I see where you're going with this question. So in 1995, Beijing brand, which is our brand in China, Bike, did a joint venture with Jeep. And through that joint venture, they developed this vehicle, the B40, which is very similar to another brand that is well known in South Africa, which is exactly basically the same. When you look, if you don't check the badge, you might think it is a Wrangler, for example. So that is from the outside. From the inside, in 2005, Beijing also signed a JV with Mercedes-Benz in China, which is called Beijing Benz. So they combine both names. And that's why on the inside you see very similarities to the Mercedes-Benz air vents and all that. And you combine both technologies and know-how, and then they developed such vehicle, which is quite comfortable. Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Amazing.
And where are your current dealerships at the moment? Where can people go buy, purchase? Besides coming to test here this weekend, where else can they go? And so where are the dealerships?
So our dealer network have been growing quite a bit in the last 2-3 months. End of last year we were sitting with only 7 dealers. The reason was we only had 3 different models that we could offer. And this year we're introducing quite a few more models. So we need to expand our dealer network and make sure it will cover all the areas for our customers to do service. So currently we got 18 dealers, so from 7 to 18. And by the end of October, we should have around 20-25.
And where are the
spread
bases?
to all the province.
Oh, so
All the
currently it's in
provinces.
all provinces.
All the province will
Okay.
have someone representing Bike.
Okay, cool.
So for a person that is interested to buy and they are probably in a town where the Bike is not there yet, where can they go to find information?
on our website, they will get all the information. They can see the dealerships, even the service centers, because even though we targeting to around 25 dealers, but in terms of service center, we're going to target for maybe 50.
Okay.
Because in some areas it's not feasible for someone to invest so much money to have a dealership, especially if it is a standalone brand that is still quite new, to cover all the overhead. So we do agreements with the workshops that are RMI approved. We do training, and then the customer will be able to take the vehicle to somewhere nearby where he stays. Yeah.
Okay.
Great stuff.
And any social media handles where people can follow? Like where else
check
can they
out the
access you? Yeah, to
models
check out the
That will
models.
be this beautiful lady on the right-hand side that she's trying to hide from me.
Social
is-
media handles.
Patience to me, Sunny.
So Patience is gonna share with us the social media handles where you can actually, follow them and actually see the different models that they have. We've had a great experience today to test drive, and we've saw different models that they have. There are models that are already in the country. There are models that are still coming, but we've had an opportunity to see them. Patience, on social media, where do we follow you?
We are very, very active, Tholo, we are very, very active on social media at the moment.
Yes.
You will find us on Instagram, definitely, and on Facebook. You will definitely find us. We are exploring LinkedIn at the moment, and we're definitely very active on Twitter. Lots of conversations are happening at the moment regarding the entrance of new brands, like Chinese brands, and we are all in there. Our handles are #BikeSA. #breaking boundaries.
Okay.
Definitely, because we believe that our vehicles are definitely breaking boundaries.
And to have an experience as an individual, where can I get access to a vehicle for a weekend?
That's
Putting
a
you on
nice
the
one.
spot.
That's a nice one. So you're talking to the right people.
Okay.
You just
Yeah.
drop me an email or a WhatsApp, as we do nowadays.
Oh,
and I
yes.
speak to the guy on my left.
Okay.
We can definitely organize it. We can definitely organize it.
Yeah.
But on a more serious note, yes,
Yeah.
we are looking for people like you as influencers
Okay.
to help us, obviously, to spread the word about our product. Yeah.
All right.
So for if you had to profile somebody that would enjoy any of the vehicles, what kind of a person are you looking at?
What kind of a person am I looking at? I'm looking at the people around me, your age group, definitely. We look at between 25 up to 50. Okay, both male and female. That's our target market. But we like to say that our target market are people who enjoy being different. Okay, not followers of the head. People who enjoy being in the city but like to break away, go ekaya, or go for a 4x4 adventure.
Yeah.
So it's not really a vehicle for the run-of-the-mill, home to work kind of thing. It's for a person who likes adventure, who likes to be out there, explore, and do cool things.
Okay.
That's our target market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys fall into that bracket. So drop us an email, and definitely Basil and I will have a chat, and we'll see what we can do.
Maybe we might even join you guys.
Of course.
But we do have a very serious requirement.
Yeah.
You must have a good following.
Yeah.
Okay,
Makes
we'll
sense.
help them on that,
Not that
and we'll
one.
tell you why. Because sometimes you can have a following, but not the engagement that you may require.
Precisely.
So, but we'll direct you. We'll direct you in the
Precisely.
process.
Yeah.
But
So
thank you so much.
the deal is on, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On camera.
So where are we going?
Let's go to the Val Dam.
Okay, guys.
All right. No, thank you so much,
Thank you so
Patience and
much.
Basil. Looking forward to the experience and the entire weekend and to that partnership.
And see more models coming into the country as well.
Definitely. That's definitely on the cards. We are here to stay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And that's it as far as this episode is concerned. Thank you so much, guys, for liking, subscribing, and commenting on the actual content. We love it that you guys are actually engaging us more and more on the content. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yes.
As we sign out, let me remind you to never, ever, ever touch anything with half your heart.
Peace.
Boom. That's what you said. Boom.